Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Pleasure Points podcast. I'm your host, Jim Rohr. I am excited that you're here. But if this is your first time checking out the show, I'm sorry that you chose this episode of all of them to listen to first. I'm joined by my lovely new wife, Jennifer. She invites herself on as the guest because she was feeling left out. What are you saying? You're the new wife. Well, that's what you are. The wife, the only wife. You're also the new wife, the last and forever wife. Anyway, she's on the show. I hope you enjoy. Cue the music. Now, are you comfortable?
I feel relaxed.
Don't get too relaxed. You gotta be funny. Bring your funny this time.
No guarantees.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Sometimes I'm funny, but I don't realize I'm funny. You know, like I'll say something hilarious and then I'm kind of surprised too because I'm like, oh, that was funny. Awesome. When I try to be funny, usually it just is
crash and burn.
Crash and burn.
You and me both. You and me both.
So what should we talk about, Jim?
I was going to record a solo episode, and you were like, let's record a podcast.
Yeah, I want to record a podcast.
I thought you came in here like locked and loaded with some shit to talk about.
All my friends are coming on the podcast. They want to be included.
Anessa was highlighting the lonely woman above the bed.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, the lonely woman
She's actually
thing,
not that lonely. She shoots me those eyes when...
yeah, she seems like she's being highly pleasured in that picture, the way that she's resting on the bed there and the way that her glance is. I think it's kind of erotic. Just saying. But I see where she's saying we should probably put like a picture of, you know, our family or something that's more two people, not just one person receiving all the pleasure over here.
Oh, you think that's funny?
Well, there is this by the same artist. Remember we went in New York? They have the more famous one is actually the man and the woman. So maybe we should just upgrade to that.
Yeah. It's funny how you like so desperately want us to not have this place look like a college dorm room, and yet you chose a Klimt picture to put above the bed.
Well, when I was decorating the house on my single yoga teacher having amazing, beautiful apartment by myself budget, I was mindful of where I was placing my dollars. And, you know, it's not a poster, so I felt that was a plus. And, you know, it's great art.
And that saved you some dollars to put into your lonely single woman book collection?
Totally. It all went to the book collection. But I have to say... I'm married now,
it
so
worked.
It worked.
It's the best money you ever spent.
Yeah. And I like that picture because it reminds me to receive. And I think that's a big part of being a woman is, you know, it's easy to be in the toxic femininity where we're just running around and we're in a very masculine energy all the time of, you know, at least I am as a businesswoman and entrepreneur. And I've always in my life been providing for myself. So it's easy to forget that to be the egg and to really draw energy towards you and to receive. And I like that picture because it reminds me of that. And yeah, I'm happy to upgrade all the art in our house because real art from real artists that has real vibration is amazing, especially when your best friend is an artist. Jeff Hamm.
Oh, shit.
We're just dropping that. We want a buffalo.
Yeah, seriously. Should we talk about like getting married?
Oh, yeah, we can talk about
you
getting married.
You haven't been on since we got married.
Oh, yeah, we're married. That's amazing. Well, what I really appreciate when we were getting married was how you tolerated all of my crazy mood swings of left field, right field on how to get married. It's not easy to get married. It's like a whole set of expectations around you when you're getting married, which I was really unprepared for. I have to say. Leading up to the engagement It's like amazing and beautiful and sacred. And then it's like, when are you getting married? How many people are you going to invite? What type of hors d'oeuvres are you serving? And you're just like, like, I don't know. It's a very intense process. And you have all these traditions and all these people that have opinions, and you have budgets and locations. And it's like, you only have one chance to get it right. And it's just, if it's like so much pressure on someone. And I was, as a little girl, you know, I wasn't ever the little girl that like played with a little Barbie doll that was with the wedding dress. I was just never me. I was like catching snakes in the backyard or something. I was just not that type of little girl. So, you know, as we were talking about it leading up to our basically spontaneous wedding, I really appreciated how you gave me space to explore those ups and downs and total meltdown right before it happened. So thanks.
You mean like I gave you like 8 months to start planning a wedding, and then when I realized that you had done nothing, that I was like, okay, I think I got to step in here and take some action?
Well,
is that what you're talking about?
Hold on, slow your roll. No, because when I decided we wanted to get married the way that I wanted to, and in the way, well, we decided, really, it wasn't because you were telling me that we were going to get married.
No, I didn't tell you that we were going to get married. I was waiting for you to like start planning the wedding you wanted, and you had done nothing. In fact, anytime I brought up wedding planning, you would be great in the conversation for about 28 seconds, and then you would pull up your phone, or you just get up and walk away and be like, I can't do this right now.
I have an avoidant attachment style, as you can tell. Well, you know, for me, the thing that was so overwhelming was like, you know, the first thing you have to decide is how much money you want to spend and where you want to do it in the location, ballpark, and who you want to invite, ballpark. And to me, it's like, that's just kind of, it gets overwhelming right off the bat, because you and I have so many amazing people in all different places around the whole world, but specifically in the States. You know, we live in Florida. We have an amazing community here that we want to have included. And you're from Chicago. You have, dear God, I don't even know how many cousins you have in Chicago. So many. And then I have all my friends and my core people in Colorado. So, and then we have, of course, you've lived in New York for the last 5 years, and you and I have also have some significant friendships there as well. So the thought of picking one place to perform a ceremony is, to me, is overwhelming, because then you're asking all of those people to fly in to one place and to have a wedding. And, you know, when you're budgeting this kind of stuff, it's like, you're not even going to really be able to see them and talk to them. And then you're having like some sort of a dinner, you know, drinking experience. And it's just like, you know, I just didn't want to have a cookie cutter wedding that was mediocre and have my friends fly all the way around the world to do that. And maybe, you know, if I had $100,000 budget, possibly it would make sense to throw a party like that. But we are not in that space at this time to just throw money at a party like that. And like, I don't know, it's like, it's a party. Like, does it make sense to devote that kind of budget to something like that? And I think that sometimes all of the distractions of like the napkins and the paper plates, or like what type of
paper plates?
Well, I was like, we're getting to dessert.
If we were having a paper plate wedding, it wouldn't be $100,000.
No, but I mean, like by the end, if you're like dessert, you know, like, or you have pizza come in the late night, like, are you using paper plates? Or are you using regular plates? And then if you don't, then you have to have the caterer, and then
decision fatigue.
Yeah, it's just like, I want nothing to do with that. Dear God, like even just talking about it now, I'm like
sweating.
I can't. And you know, definitely we would have had to go with a wedding planner to plan if we had gone that route, because that stuff just totally stresses me out.
I bet you could have sold her oils if we did get a wedding planner.
Oh, for sure. She probably needs them. Imagine how stressful her job is. I just think about her job and I'm like, oh my gosh, so stressful.
Well, and our thing was a little nuanced too, right? I mean, this is my second wedding, and the first time I got married was in Colorado. So the obvious place for you and I to have gotten married, if there was going to be one place, was going to be Colorado. Yeah. But you said you didn't want,
no.
You know, Jim gets married in Colorado 2.0. Take two.
And
the redo.
Action. No, that does not work for me. And like, you know, I lived in Colorado and I was in a relationship when I lived in Colorado. So that also doesn't feel like we have no stories or history in Colorado, really. I mean,
I was looking forward, though, to Adam giving another best man speech where he was like, well, it's great to see half of you out here again in Colorado.
oh my gosh. Well, that still might happen at our 1-year anniversary party in Denver,
possible.
which I'm planning, or in Colorado. Or the multiple adventures that we'll have along the way where we hang out with friends and family this year. So don't worry. I foresee some speeches where we both get roasted coming our way.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Well, there's plenty of ammo from these podcasts. And the, yeah, the other thing too was that we talked about with getting married the way we did was like your parents didn't, like your parents, they didn't have like a big agenda for you. They didn't, they weren't making it about them, right? Which happens a lot of times in weddings is that it's like, it can become so much more about the parents and the relatives, and your parents were super awesome. And they were just like, whatever you guys want, like we'll be there to support you. And like they came, sort of pretty much last minute, right? We planned all this stuff in like 3 days and they brought their hearts and their support, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and that's what my parents are awesome like that. And, I think that our situation was very unique because we don't have family where we live. So it was easy to do. Like if we were living in Chicago or we were living in Colorado, I don't think we would have been able to do what we did or had a wedding like we did, because I wouldn't feel right knowing that like my grandma was down the street and I just didn't invite her. Like that doesn't feel good. But because we're just here in Florida and Wyatt was here, it's like it felt nice and it felt sacred and it felt simple. And the most important thing is to be committed to you and have that special time together. And to me, not having to be worried about all the other people so that I can focus on us and what I was feeling throughout the day was really, really nice. As someone who is very intuitive and I love to cater to people and I love to make sure people feel comfortable and be a great hostess, I could foresee myself in a different setting, being really less focused on me and more focused on other people, which I think at the end of the day would, I want to say ruin, because you don't want to put that word out there, but I think it would subtract from the energy that I would have been able to give to you and be present in that important ceremony. That for us was really, it was very moving and very powerful, and it felt very sacred in the intimate setting that we did. And for me, that's the bottom line of what I cared the most about in creating our union together.
Do you have any regrets about how we did it now that we're like, a month out? Because I think a lot of women, I think a lot of people, they want to elope. They want to do like a super small wedding like we did, but then there's always that fear of regretting it or, hurt feelings or whatever. Like, have you gotten any backlash from anybody or anything like that?
No, I think in general, people are very supportive in our community of us and what we have chosen to do. And, half of your people have already come to one wedding, so they're probably relieved that they don't have to, weddings are expensive for people. And I think, the feedback from our community has been very supportive. And for sure, the 2 days after, there was definitely some feelings in my stomach, like, did I make a huge mistake by doing it this way? And I don't have any regrets, though. Like, I think that the way that we did it was perfect for us. And when I thought about any other scenario and anything happening other than how we did it, like, it didn't feel right, which is why nothing was ever, there was no progress and no energy moving in that direction, because it just wasn't right. And, this happened, and it happened so easily and with so much energy and alignment because it was right. And, of course, we always have those. I think when you're making a big decision like this, your mind, it tends to jump around what ifs, and that's normal. But at the end of the day, you just have to, believing that I'm empowered and that I made the choices that I did because that made the most sense to me. So, and, if people want to come to our weird creative ideas that we have of renewing our vows and coming to our 1-year celebration, awesome. And, it does change things. Like, it does change the energy of like, walking down the aisle and like having all the things and like that whole thing. But to me, I never really cared about that. That's not really like something that like I said, when I was a little girl, I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't wait until the one day I get to walk down the church in the big pretty dress and like everyone stares at me. Like that has never been like on my bucket list. I mean, of course, getting married is important to me, but that whole process is not something I'm like attached to.
I wasn't sure about that for a while because the last time you got engaged and you didn't plan a wedding, it didn't work out very well for that guy.
Well, you know,
or maybe it did work out well for him, but you guys didn't end up getting married.
Yeah. Like I said, you know, when it's right and it's light and it makes sense and it's easy and it flows, you know, and I think that marriage is so much more than just a wedding, and it's so much more than just like a party, you know. And for me, just all of that stuff just seems like it gets complicated, you know, and especially when you have people traveling and like all of my friends, I'm like the last one to get married of all my friends. I'm the youngest, and they all have kids that are 2 and 3 and, you know, babies on the way. And it's like, nobody wants to just get on a plane and travel, you know, and, or if they do now they can, but it'll be in a different setting of like a fun, cool party environment. Cause to me, like a wedding, what's really fun is like the party part, and like people want to see you and celebrate you and be happy. So can we do that in a way that is more, that is a new tradition, that it's something that creates a different pathway, and that it's not all of this shoulds. That's what always gets me stuck with the wedding stuff, is like, I don't like to feel like I should do something or I have to do something because somebody else outside of myself says I am supposed to. And that's where I guess I'm a little bit of a rebel in that sense. And I have been, I guess, my whole life. That's the panda side coming out. But, you know, like I don't want to just do something because I'm supposed to. I want to do it because I love it and I'm really excited about it, and that it feels in total alignment with me. And if it doesn't, like, it's not happening. I'm not doing it. That's just who I am and how I operate. So in times when there isn't alignment, like nothing happens. And there are periods of my life, whether it's, you know, with the wedding planning or in my business or in anything that I'm creating, if that energy isn't flowing, like, it's not flowing because it's not in alignment anymore. And there's something that needs to be addressed. So for me, it was that stuff doesn't necessarily like bother me or worry me or scare me in any way. It's just waiting until that idea or that situation lands and it feels really good to me. And, you know, like you and I talking about like what would our ideal scenario be, and that is to be able to celebrate in a more intimate way with our friends and family, whether that's intimate dinner settings or more of a cocktail party or something that where we can really talk to people and enjoy company together and not have like 200 people at like one experience that's just like, whoa. And then you're just like, hi, bye, you know, to all those people in one night. It's like short circuits me. I'm just not into that.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, one of the things that I've heard over and over and over again when people talk about their weddings is how glad they are when it's over, you know, and that to me is just like, that's so crazy, you know? And I think that there's even, I don't know if this is true, but I heard somewhere that there's like a correlation between how much money people spend on a wedding with, or there's an inverse relationship with how much money they spend on a wedding and how long the marriage actually lasts. So the more that they spend on it, the shorter the duration of the wedding or of the marriage, you know, which I think is interesting because I love what your one client told you, which was when you told him about how we got married. What did he say? He was just like, oh, that makes sense. You don't have anyone to impress.
Yeah.
You know, and so we have the luxury of having created, you know, a life like that. And, you know, where it just comes back to like, well, what is it that we want to do?
Totally. And I think that, you know, like in the family dynamics, like I said, it would be totally different if we had family that lived in our area, because I don't think this whole plan would have worked for us. But
no, for sure.
Definitely not.
Could
like,
you imagine?
No. Oh my gosh.
Like
I would
down
never.
The street and we're just like, yeah, fuck you. We're getting married.
Yeah, no, that's horrible. Like I could never do that. Right. So this is a very unique situation for us. And like, you know, like my family doesn't have any vested interest in like, they don't need to impress like my cousins or like outdo my brother's wedding, or like there was no need to do anything other than what we did, because it was just like, hey, we're getting married. We want to have our vows be powerful, and we want to have a sacred space created, and we want to look each other in the eyes and be barefoot in the sand and dig our toes in on a hot day and like just declare that we love each other and have that be in a more official way, and have our family support us and the ones closest to us, which for you is Wyatt and for me, my parents. So, you know, we have the nucleus of our family unit is very small. So it's easy to do something like, for us, it was easy to do. But I think that people have got to honor, if you're a bride out there that's listening, or someone who's considering getting married, or maybe you're single and you want to get married one day, I think honoring a family dynamic is important. Like, had your mom, if you were the only son and like your mom wanted to have like a big wedding and it made sense, like maybe it would have ended up different, because right. She wanted to see you get married, and maybe it was, I'm the only daughter, and like it would be a totally different scenario. And people, that was one thing that I felt bad about, but it was definitely a concern that I had with doing what we did, is that, which you and I did talk about, which is like, getting married is a lot of time and expense, but it's also something fun for people to look forward to, and it's an excuse to get the family together. And so my concern or fear was that getting married in this way would cheat people of the opportunity to get excited about something and think about, and they get to travel somewhere, and what are they going to wear, and like looking forward to that. Because as much as it is oftentimes a burden in the sense that people aren't expecting to pay so much money or whatever, but that they're really excited to leave their normal lives and get together for something special. And so that's where I feel like us doing a good job of planning our celebration that we have, or celebrations that we have after, is important. And the energy might be totally different than if someone, someone going to a wedding. Obviously the energy is going to be very different than someone they're like, oh, you're already married, like whatever. But that, like, still inviting them and giving them something to look forward to, I think is important. And I think, have we
invited anybody to anything yet?
No, we haven't. So waiting for that alignment to come in for the things.
You got to get excited. If you drop like a little real talk, like talk a little bit, if you would, about the challenges of, this sounds like such a professional question, but I know that there's a lot of women out there that are in the situation where the challenges of, it was your first wedding, right? This is your first marriage with, and even planning a wedding with me, where it was the second one. We talked, we joked about Denver, but I know that there were a few times we were talking about it, like, you would get kind of frustrated because you felt like I wasn't necessarily super involved, or you accused me of not caring because I'd been married before. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a real thing. I mean, and when you have two people that don't care, because like I said, like, I have friends that when they got engaged, it was like the books were out, the magazines were out, and they were like so excited to plan all the things, and they've been looking forward to this their whole life. And I've just never been that girl. I mean, yeah, I would look on Instagram and I have like a board of like the things that I like, and some things that I was looking for, but it wasn't.
Such a rebel. I have my Pinterest board with the weddings and the dresses and the things.
Yeah, I mean, I was started to look for sure, but it's not, there are some girls that they do that. They're listening to this podcast right now and they're like, oh yeah, I have my whole thing, and they're not even in a relationship yet. So like there are those type of girls that it's like they were looking forward to their wedding their whole life. It's the biggest day of their life, and it's super, super important to them. And it is really important, and it is a huge day in my life, but it was never something that I like obsessed over. And even once we got engaged, I didn't obsess over. So
I noticed.
Yeah. So yeah, but like you already been married, so it totally changes things, because like you already did all the things. Like you got the tuxedo with your like initials put in it and your little cufflinks and like all the things, and it was so sentimental, and like your brothers, and you did the little gifts, and it's just like part of me just
glad we didn't do that. I just felt my whole body contract when you were talking about all those
great
things.
And like I almost threw up in my mouth. So it's like I'm like, oh, like you've already done all of these like things with someone else. Like it just doesn't feel it. Yeah, it was hard. It was like definitely a lot of emotions on my part of like, what do we want to create? And I think too, having talked to so many people that have already been married and having them talk about their experiences with it and what they advise as already being married helps a lot too, since I am the last of all my friends to get married. And so many people were just like, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Like, just do what you want to do. And, you know, you're spending 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever $1,000 on this party, and you've got to love it and you've got to be super excited. And if you're not, like, go do something else with your money. You know, there's a lot of different options, arguably, that are much more responsible for us right now to put budget into a different area of our life. So I think for me, yeah, that process was frustrating because it's like, you want to throw an amazing party. If you're going to invite, I like to go all out. Like if I'm doing something, it needs to be done really well. And if you're not going to do it really, 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 really crazy well, then just maybe consider
not doing it.
Yeah, well, we still did it, right? And I feel like we did it very, very, very well, but with what made sense for us.
Right.
And so I didn't feel like we lost any integrity of our wedding because we just, you know, we had an incredible event, and it was really beautiful for the people that were there and us, which is the most important. So, you know, I think that thinking about recreating something that was a shadow of your past and like had to compare to what you have done before with your previous wedding was like definitely a factor, but not something that overtook me in terms of like I could have been a bridezilla and been like, well, you did this crazy last wedding and we're going to spend more and make it more awesome. And like, I'm getting a bigger, puffier dress and like whatever. But like, but this is not me. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever.
You would not have seen me on the wedding day if that's how this had gone.
Well, I literally, like, the dress arrived. This is like maybe horrific to some of you. Like, the dress arrived like at 11 a.m. the day of the wedding.
Well, because you ordered it 3 days before.
Yeah, I ordered it.
We were like, oh, I think we're actually going to get married. And you saw like an ad on Instagram.
Yeah, I saw an ad on Instagram. Thank goodness that I had been making my vision, you know, like of the styles and the things that I liked. Yeah, and it was just like,
that your phone had been listening to us.
Yeah,
talk
totally about all the bride things.
In the
yeah, it's like they knew exactly what I like. They're like boho chic, like bridal dresses, like perfect. So, and you know, just like the whole thought, like I don't have sisters, and all of my friends that are girly are like also girly, but they're not that materialistic. So, you know, like thinking about going to like a bridal shop and like having that whole experience of the fittings and the multiple fittings and like, do I fit, and is my butt big enough, or is it small enough, or like, am I going to fit in this in 3 months? And like, dear God, I want nothing to do with that. That is just like, I don't know. That's just very stressful to me, the whole process, and probably would have ended up looking like of me going by myself and being like, yeah, this is a dress I like awesome. Can I just buy it now? And they're like, no, you need to have champagne with your mom and like fight over it and cry and like make a big deal and then go eat pizza and then throw it up and like tell yourself that you're fat. I'm like, see, I didn't know I was being funny. You
can't sell it till you've cried in here.
Yeah, they're like, someone needs to die in order for the dress to be like the real thing. And you're like, no, you need to buy a more expensive dress, or this one can catch on fire, like whatever all the concerns are with buying dresses these days.
Catching on fire?
Oh, you don't know that?
This is a thing?
Oh yeah, all the wedding dresses are, because they're mostly made of synthetic material, are highly flammable.
Seriously?
Totally. It's like a big deal.
Are they spraying them with like?
They spray
like
them
on a couch, like
I'm
fire
sure.
retardant stuff,
Correct.
or a mattress.
Totally, fire retardants.
Seriously?
Yeah, their wedding dresses are toxic chemicals. I'm surprised that Mark actually didn't talk about that. That's how I know all of this, was because I was part of Dawn and Mark's wedding planning and like watching them go through that whole process as I was interning with Mark when they were first starting Yogisa, way before I was even a yoga teacher or had my own business. And yeah, it was crazy because all of the dresses are just, they're highly flammable. It's nuts. So for me, that stuff is just like, I get anxiety about it. I don't need to do that. So I was happy to get a really cute dress on, and I have high hopes I can wear it again. So that's my spiel on them. But you know, like some people, like it's a ritual with a dress. And like, if you're someone that loves the dress thing and it's a big deal, like awesome.
Remember when you went to get the flowers? You didn't even have flowers. You went like that morning or the day before, right? And you told the lady like, "Oh, we're just doing like a photo shoot."
Well, I learned very quickly that whenever you're talking to people about wedding things, if you say the big W word, they go crazy on you. Where like the budget all of a sudden gets quadrupled and they like make a big deal and then they start acting weird. Like you say wedding and people start acting psycho. They're like, oh my God, well, if it's a bridal bouquet, how do you feel? And like, nah, nah, nah. And they just take on this whole other persona. So I just didn't want any of that. I just wanted them to know this is important. It's a special event. And I wanted a beautiful bouquet that had lots of different flowers and lots of different colors. And it was cool. Showed some pictures, and the woman is amazing from Downtown Flowers here in Miami. She's such a total superstar, and she did exactly perfect everything that I was hoping for and went above and beyond to make it happen for us. So,
well, because she called you the night before, and she was like, yeah, like, I wasn't sure if I can make it, but it looks like, we should be able to make it for you. Like, what is this for again? And then when you told her, it was like, well, actually, like, we're getting married tomorrow. Like, I didn't want to tell you in the store because my mom was there and whatever, and then she was like, oh my God, of course. Yes, it's going to happen. Like the driver's gonna do this. And like, she crushed it.
Yeah, she did amazing. Yeah. I guess they had some big fancy event at one with a celebrity downtown, but yeah, she totally pulled through to make it happen. And it was exactly what I wanted.
And it was like the whole thing to me was what was amazing was how it all came together so easily. Like your parents were available. We were able to get them last minute flights to come down here. And like you had the dress show up, the flowers, like the weather turned out to be perfect. Our friend Michelle was able to marry us. Like she happened to be available. Our friend, the photographer, also happened to be available. Like all these things. And like Michelle's usually busy. Like the photographer's usually out of town. It's like all of these things came together. And maybe it's a coincidence or maybe it was sort of divine intervention or just this is kind of how it goes when, I think you lead with the heart and you're just kind of in the flow. Well, and like we weren't attached to any of it. It was just like, well, if they're available, great. If not, we'll figure it out. And I think that there's that kind of like detachment, that letting go allows things to fall into place the way that we would want.
Totally. Well, look, I hated the dress and the flowers not arrived. I probably wouldn't have gotten married that day. Like, cause there are some things that you kind of want to have like a little bit nice, like I wanted to feel good about it. I wanted to feel beautiful in the dress that I picked. And I did want to have flowers. So for me, those were important components of it. And had any of that not worked out or like had Michelle not been able to marry us, like I was not okay with like going to the courthouse and like standing in front of the justice of the peace or whatever. So, I
guess we could have just called it off.
Yeah, I was totally prepared for that as well. Like I had my full meltdown the day before where I was like fully in tears, like crying my eyes out, being like, I don't know, this might be a bad idea. Like, am I going to regret this for the rest of my life? And like, right as soon as my parents land and they're just looking at me like, are you kidding me? But I think that they also had some compassion for the whole process too. And they know me. This is apparently, according to my parents, this was very on character for me. They're like, yeah, this is kind of how you do things. You like last minute roll in, pull a bunch of strings, pull it together like magical. And it is a huge success. So,
well, you remember when we were dating and we were in Colorado and, you would do this thing sometimes where you would jokingly propose to me. And you did that at lunch. I don't know. I gave you like a French fry or something off my plate. And you're like, oh, I love you so much. Will you marry me? And then we had dinner with your parents that night. And I said to your mom, I said, oh, well, Jenny proposed to me at lunch today because I gave her a French fry. And your mom looked at me and then looked at you. And she goes, this Jenny? She's mortified of commitment. She really said that?
Oh, my gosh. That's so funny. Yeah. Well, up until this day, to be fair, I don't think that I'm afraid of commitment because I've committed many times to many things in my life and been extremely consistent and very dedicated to those things. I'm a Taurus, so like once I get going in one path in one direction, like the bull will go. Like there is very difficult to get me to shift and change directions. Like it's got to be something that's really powerful that's moving me in a different direction. That being said, in my previous relationships, I was never committed because it didn't feel right. So good luck. Now you got a full on bull going. We're going in the same lane now. And you've got big old Taurus who's incredibly loyal and dedicated. And now we're like, I'm in the lane. And for me, that it's that commitment, that committing I can only do it if it feels right. And then once you have me, like I'm there for life. Like and any of my close friends and people in my sphere know that. Like I'm slow to commit, but once I do, like it's a done deal. And I'm a lifer.
Sweet.
Hello.
Gonna hold you to
You
that.
can get rid of me now.
Nice.
And now I will follow you everywhere around the house. No, I'm just kidding. Since we've been living back and forth in New York, it's nice to have you around in Miami. And I do find myself wandering into your podcast room, just being like, hey, what are you doing? Just to say hi. It's nice to have you here.
That's like when you were telling Dawn about our wedding and stuff, and you were just like, yeah, it's like, we just think that, it's like every day you commit to your partner, and it's like every day you like declare your vows, And she just starts laughing, and she's like, yeah, why don't you talk to me after 10 years and a kid?
Yeah. Well, and like, I think that that's relevant, but like for me, like our vows, like one of the lines that like even today I was repeating to myself, and like when we were doing our healing session together, and I trust in your love for me. And like, if we can just say that, like, that's such an easy phrase to repeat over and over again. Like, you can say that, like, you trust in my love for you. And like, if we say that to each other every single day, like, I trust your love for me. I trust your love for me. I have faith in my love for you. And we say that and we operate in that vibration every day, it will be pretty difficult to hate each other. Or like having.
What does that even mean? What does that even mean? My love for you and your love for me.
Well, we wrote the vows, right? You tell me. I'm pretty sure you're the one that came up with him. So why don't you tell us what you feel like that means to you?
I'm curious what it means to you.
To me, it's a trust. It's trust that I've told you that I love you and I will continue to love you. So have faith that my word is true. And like, I'm gonna cry. That's the truth.
Right.
So trust that. Like when you feel yourself being scared or you want to run away or like it's hard, like trust that I love you. Have faith in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's nice. Part of the vows that got me was like, it was like receiving, I vow to like receive your love, or however we said it.
It was exactly the same thing I just said.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's interesting, like there's all these layers to it, right? Because it's like, there's that thing of like, part of what I think makes, the wedding and commitment together so great is that it's like, this is like a thing. Like we vow to like support each other and to be there and to show up, Mm-hmm. But then when you kind of zoom out a little bit and you're like, well, what is this possessive, like my love and your love and all of that? Because on some level, it's just kind of like, well, like I like we could have easily said like, I vow to love myself.
Yeah.
And I vow to see the love that I feel or experience like as me, also to see that as you, where it's like, there's this, I think like we can really only receive the love of another when it's commensurate to like our capacity to love ourselves.
True.
And so it's like, there's that ever evolving thing, and one of the things that I find so interesting is there was a study done that showed that, couples, I forget how they said it, but it's something like healthy couples tend to become more of like who they want to be. Like healthy couples feel more actualized because in a healthy relationship, the partner will see their partner as who that person wants to be, not just who they are. So it's like, it's almost like they're holding kind of that template, right? Like for you with, your business and stuff, right? It's like, so when I look at you, like I look at you as like having already achieved it, instead of like looking at you now and thinking about like all the things that have to happen to get there. Right. It's like, I'm going to put the energy into like the manifestation of that. And I think that energetically like helps, just like you look at me. And when I feel like when you look at me, we do like that eye gazing thing, it's like, I feel seen, but I also feel like you are also seeing like who I have the potential to become. Like you're holding that kind of connection where it's almost like this sort of energetic pull that I become that thing.
Yes.
You know, now, and this is obviously very different than like if you're dating someone who has said, like, I just have to do the disclaimer now. Like, if you're dating somebody and they've said a whole bunch of shit that they're not interested in committing, they don't want to, you know, be monogamous and all the things, and you're just like, he has the potential to be it. I'm going to like hold on to the potentials that he can become that. Like, no, girl, like, fucking walk away, respect yourself, love your life, move on. You know, like when people tell you who they are, believe them, you know? But in this relationship, like, I think that's really cool. And these like researchers showed that that's like actually the case.
Well, I think the big distinction that you made there for me is that I'm choosing to love you exactly as you are now and who you are going to grow into, right, and continue to love you.
Yeah. And
if you're marrying someone or you love someone hoping that they're going to become someone else, that's a problem. And sure. And you have to be authentic in that in the truth that you love the person the way that they are now. And if they don't change at all, zero, that you're going to love them in the same or more. And I think that's where people get tripped up because, you know, they have this vision of who someone could become, but they actually aren't honest with themselves that they're in love with that fake version of the person instead of who's right in front of them. And I think that that's where people fall into a danger zone when it comes into committing in relationships and even marriages.
Right. You know what I think is a huge trap for that is someone's profession. When people get so hung up on like, well, he's a doctor, he's a lawyer, he's like totally. This and that. And it's like, even with me, right? It's like, oh, he's an acupuncturist or he's he did the shamanism stuff and like he's so spiritual and whatever. It's like, we could, you know, or you with yoga teachers, like, oh, yoga teacher, you know, you can fall in. It's so easy to let that profession kind of paint a cloud and you start thinking of like, oh, this is going to be great. Like, you know, he's going to have the boat and the thing and he must like, whatever the stories are that get wrapped up in a profession. So being able to like really just do our best to be as present as possible to see what's actually happening there.
Well, and that's why I think so many people have all this weird stuff that happens in weddings because there's so many cooks in the kitchen. And it's like, you know, you have the in-laws paying for this and you have this one paying for that. And it's like all of a sudden you're being pulled in so many different directions and that you're clouded of who is it you're even marrying because you're partially marrying the whole family. And it's not even about the two people anymore. It's like Uncle Sam and like Aunt Sue. And it's like, it's all of these expectations that other people or outside forces are putting on you, which is what I love how we did ours too, is like nobody else really was allowed to have an opinion. You know, we just cut them out of the picture, which,
kept
you know,
away from the lunatics.
May or may not be, you know, maybe my family maybe they have some things to share with me about that in the future, but they didn't get the choice because they didn't have the option because this is us and this is for us. So I think that everyone has to navigate those things on their own and be really committed and connected to who they are and who their partner is and who you're going together. Because the other thing is if one person grows in one direction, one person goes the other way, you know, you're not growing together. And then that's where stuff gets weird too, which, you know, when it comes to our vows, like what you were saying in the possessive of the my, of those words, like you could replace that with the word the. I have faith in the love you have for me, you know, that instead of my love for you. And I don't even remember. We have to look at exactly what.
Gotta rewind the tape. See
what we have to look at the exact. Well, we have it written down, right? We have it written down so we can look. But I think the verbiage when you are creating your vows is really important. And to me, I actually resonated with the vows and what I like because it gave me the freedom to and the desire to want to repeat that as a daily mantra or as something that I've reminded that I've committed myself to every time I look at my ring, that I'm committing to you and to myself, and that's what we are creating for our life. And that is an acceptance of who you are now and who you're growing into. And that was actually, we did say that in our lines of allowing that space to be held. And I think that's important because otherwise people grow in different directions and you're going to grow as a person, no matter in different areas, or you're going to do different things.
Right.
But sometimes you're going to grow together and sometimes you're going to grow apart, and there'll be phases where that happens.
Hashtag don't be awful.
Hashtag don't be awful.
Well, anything else that we need to share with the people? Well, I thought we were going to like make fun of all the spiritual people and like all these things. Instead, we kind of took it serious down here.
Well, we talked about wedding
Talking
stuff.
about our weddings.
I think that's relevant. People keep wanting. Yeah, stop saying weddings. You keep putting that out there.
You're planning like all these other weddings for us this
That's
year.
not a
We
wedding.
haven't invited anybody
It's
to
not
them.
a wedding. It's a celebration of love.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, we still have to figure that out.
Well, I think Sedona is going to be dope. I think we should do that.
Yeah. Sedona, maybe Mexico, maybe Peru,
Maybe Peru.
maybe Colorado. Stay tuned for Jim and Jen's adventures.
Nobody else cares.
Nobody else cares. Well, maybe they do care, and maybe they want to be included. So we will include you, and
You're
maybe
inviting
you
the
do care.
podcast world?
Yeah, I mean, if there's someone in the podcast who's really, really, really wants to come, let us know.
Okay, you got to be awesome. Write an essay.
Write an essay.
PleasurePointsPodcast@gmail. Why should you be invited to our wedding? Celebrations of love.
Not a wedding. It's a celebration of love.
Oh, right. That's what we have to tell everybody, right? It's definitely not a wedding. Don't expect it to be a wedding.
No, because it's not a wedding.
Right.
We already did that. But we will have a nice party.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, guys, for listening. And we'll check you out next time. Ciao.
Cue the music. Do, 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 do.
Nice job. Nice job. How does my theme music go?
Do, do,